Do you run an e-commerce business? Well, get ready for the CHYE E-commerce Business Summit coming up February 6, 2018. It'll be an unforgettable evening filled with education, resources, and inspiration to rocket charge your sales. Plus, a lavish buffet dinner. To find out more, log on to chye.info.
Welcome to the CHYE in partnership with COL Live K-Factor podcast with your host, Rabbi Yehoshua Wordy, director of CHYE. Each week, we bring you interviews with amazing Jewish entrepreneurs sharing their challenges and successes. Their stories will inspire you to make the Keli to take your business aspirations to the next level. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the K-Factor podcast, brought to you by CHYE in partnership with COL Live. Very excited this week to be sitting here with a good friend, somebody who has been with CHYE from its infancy. And this is Yitzy Geisinsky, who's in Crown Heights for a short stay, lives in California. And Yitzy is an entrepreneur. He's been running businesses all his life and has been probably most well-known in the community as the owner of the Milano Wigs, which is a large wig company with a unique angle in the market and very well, high profile and well-known. But he also runs many other businesses, including a Sukkah business and involved in the energy sector, and exciting and fascinating journey that he'll, Mirza Shem, looking forward to sharing together today. So Yitzy, welcome to the K-Factor.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes, and it's a pleasure. It really is a pleasure, and you're somebody who's been there with CHYE as we slowly came out of idea into reality, and it's a pleasure to be able to sit here with you and to interview you and for the world to hear your story. It'll be people will really enjoy your Mirza Shem. So let's in our classic style. You graduated yeshiva, and take us on your journey. How did you get from yeshiva into business, and tell us the stops that it took along the way.
Well, first of all, thank you for everything you do. I've been watching it and been part of it for 5-6 years now almost.
Yeah.
So it's been very gratifying, and Baruch Hashem, I see a lot of success. Where do I start? First job I had was I was 17 years old, and just finished camp, and a co-counselor asked me to help him unload a truck of bamboo in Borough Park. So I figured I had the time, why not? I didn't realize I was getting paid for it. It was just unloading a truck of bamboo for a place called the Custom Sukkah. At the time it was called Custom Sukkah in Borough Park. And somehow that day, some guy who was helping assemble panels had to leave for something. I don't know why. And at the end of the day, I had a job assembling panels on the assembly line. And so that was really interesting. And from there, I stayed there for 7 years. And it was a good arrangement because I was able to do that between camp and yeshiva, and for a few years. And I learned a tremendous amount from the Sukkah Center.
So 1 second. So while you were there, you were just on the assembly line the whole time, or you climbed the ranks?
Well, assembly line for, I think, 2 years. And then after that, there seemed to be a gap in managing the local distribution. And so I volunteered to do that, and they gave me the opportunity to do it. So we studied it and we figured out a system, and that worked. I think it was I did that for 2 years. And then after that, the fellow who was managing the place, he got married, sort of retired, and went on to get a real job. And at 21 years old, I guess I had seniority, believe it or not. And so they asked me to be the manager. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So what was the biggest lesson you learned from those 7 years?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, I learned a lot of the specifics because it was a unique business where the entire sales season was about 6 weeks. And when I became the manager at 21, I had already finished smicha, so I was kind of out of yeshiva. So I had plenty of time to work out all the logistics. So in May, June, July, we didn't really have any operations going, but we spent the time customizing computer system, which needed to be done at that time. So then I had to learn every element of the business. We got a telephone system for the first time. We took credit cards for the first time. We had to redesign the warehouse. We had to research all these. So I had time to do all that, and I learned a tremendous amount of elements about how a business is supposed to run.
Very nice. So this is an opportunity that the Abishur just put on right on your lap.
Yeah, and I tried to take advantage of it, and I took it very seriously, though. And although it was a seasonal business, but while I was there, I took it seriously.
And till this day, you're still involved.
I'm not involved in the Sukkah Center, but very close with the owners, with Yossi Biston and Avi Diamond.
Right.
Yeah, so I learned a lot from them.
Right.
So.
Very nice. So, 10, what's the next step on the journey?
Well,
you're 21 years old.
Well,
Finished. Sukkah season is over.
I did that for a couple of years, and I tried something when I was 22 with to try to what I call consolidate the buying power of Chabad. It was a very ambitious task, and I figured at 21, 22 years old I can pull it off, but I think it was over ambitious. But what ended up from there was one of the industries I tried to make a deal with was the telephone industry. So I actually struck a deal with Sprint, and we came to the Shulchan convention for a couple of years, and it was interesting. I learned a lot, and I made some money on it. But from there, I actually learned the telephone business. So I started, I worked for IDT for 3 months for Howard Jonas.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife was working, I got a job at Econophone through a friend of mine, and then they were looking to expand to California. So she strongly encouraged the owner of the business that if you could move out to California, you should send us there. And she arranged for an interview for me, and we ended up moving to California to start the West Coast operations for Econophone.
I remember that company. Remind me, what was their unique...
Econophone is almost what it sounds like. It was a cheap telephone service, and they grew very, very quickly. It was from ownership, and they had several hundred employees in mostly in New York. So we went out there. We started the operations for them.
Nice, very nice. So, what did that entail?
Well, it was interesting actually. The common denominator between that and the Sukkah Center was, even though I didn't own the business and I wasn't investing and spending my money, but I had the opportunity to operate as an entrepreneur, deal with all the details myself. I had to find the office and do our own marketing, hire my own employees. So I got to learn a tremendous amount from working within there. And obviously it was a much, much bigger company. So I also learned a little bit or a lot of how a corporate bureaucracy works, for better or for worse.
Let's pause for a second, giving our listeners a chance. What would you say is a major distinction between a small business and a corporate bureaucracy?
Things happen much quicker, and the decisions are based more on the bottom line of what we're really trying to accomplish. There's a lot more paperwork that needs to be filed in order to get something done in a bigger company, and it just takes longer. So it's obviously more gratifying to work as an entrepreneur, but I had the best of both worlds. I got to act as an entrepreneur within a large corporation. So, which again was I was investing other people's money. I was very careful about it, but I learned a lot by doing that.
So how long did that last for?
We did Econophone for about 3 years until the company suddenly went under, and which I learned a lot of things not to do, which would cause that. And straight out of Econophone, somebody else who worked there.
People love hearing stories. Maybe you could identify, what was a key mistake they made that could be something that people could learn from, not to make those types of mistakes.
Well, I think that my analysis was simple, that they actually sold out to a company, a much bigger company. Actually, I wouldn't say it was bigger. It was a different company that had supposedly a better future. And that company really had no interest in what they were doing, what the core business was. And they just pillaged that part of the business. And when it came time to choose one side or the other, they just gave up on this one.
Mm.
So that's the way I saw it.
So the lesson to somebody is?
Oh, choose your partners carefully and keep track of what you're trying to achieve.
Right.
And perhaps they took their eye off the ball. I'm not sure exactly how that happened.
Uh-huh. Got it. Okay, so then Econophone is out. What's the next step?
Well, we had the Econophone had a unique product. unique service, really, that enabled our customers to make discount international phone calls from their cell phones. And it was very unique, and it was really something that was coming into its own because cell phone minutes were becoming much, much cheaper at the time. Those who remember, in the 90s, cell phone minutes were expensive. You had a limited amount of minutes. And the early 2000s, it became unlimited, started becoming popular. At the very least, it was much cheaper. But international was still very expensive, and it's still sort of expensive. So this was a service that enabled customers to make discount international calls through the cell phone. And nobody took that up. So somebody else who worked at Econophone on the West Coast, he was responsible for buying their minutes, their time, international minutes. So we partnered up, and we bought a small network. And we just started offering this service, mostly in California.
So you picked up the slack where when Econophone disappeared, you were able to fill in that void.
Yeah, from this one particular product. And then from there, we kind of expanded into a little more traditional long distance, toll-free numbers. But that was our niche. Mm-hmm. So we did that from 2002, and we did it for 6 years. We sold it in 2008.
Very nice.
And along the way, that's when we began Econophone in Milano. Milano Wigs was 2003, I think.
So let's dig into Milano a little. What brought you to start Milano? Tell us the story behind the company.
Well, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law, they were selling wigs a few years before that, and they did some things very well and some things not so well, and they were having issues. So they asked my wife to come and work with them and help them out, and she and I would discuss what the issues were, and we thought we identified what the issue was. We made some suggestions and didn't completely follow it, and then the business didn't work out. And a couple of years later, they weren't picking up on it. They didn't go back into it, so we went back specifically to my brother-in-law. He still had some contacts and the know-how, and we said, let's try our business model and let's give it a try, and that's what happened.
So, but what is that business model?
The business model was to sell a high-quality wig direct to the public, but as
opposed to in those days, people would only buy through a Schädelmacher?
Yes, and that was most of the way they were bought. But the specific difference was we had inventory. At the time, if you want a high-quality wig, you had to order it in either completely custom or semi-custom, and it would take a long time, and you don't know what you're getting, really. Right. So we produced a lot of inventory, made it available, and kind of what you see is what you get. No surprises.
Right.
That was unique at the time.
Mm-hmm. So you started off, and take us a little through the growth stages.
Yeah, those who remember, it was kind of an interesting time. What we did was we didn't have a showroom. We didn't sell through Schädelmachers. Our business model was to sell at a discount and to sell direct. So what we would come in and rent a warehouse, a vacant warehouse, and sell our wigs just 2 or 3 days at a time. It was like a pop-up show before they became popular, and sell a season's worth of wigs in a few days, and show up again 3-4 months later before the next Yom Tov. So that was our first.
So your ability to charge at a lower price came solely from getting rid of the middleman, so to say, or you also had you were able to go into the process of Schädelmaching and find a way to fine tune the process?
Well, we did have a lower cost because of our volume, no question, but definitely the uniqueness of and the ability to charge those prices is because we circumvented some people in the middle who have a real function. But for those who are willing to bypass that function, they got a much better deal.
Right. Very nice. So, I mean, as your company grew, your brand grew, and you obviously took different steps to move the company in different directions.
Yeah, and obviously, Baruch Hashem, we had popularity, and we needed to grow. We needed to become more consistent. We had some requests for wholesale, which became a challenge because of our margins. But so we had to find unique ways to grow, and we opened up our own showroom in New York to be able to again sell direct. And I don't think at that point the other manufacturers had their own showroom. I'm not sure. But we opened up our own showroom, sold direct, to overcome some of the challenges. Some of the challenges that we faced right at the outset was, first of all, by circumventing the Schetelmacher, and we didn't offer styling and cutting. So our customers went to their Schetelmacher to get a styled and cut, and that didn't work out real well. So that was one issue. And then there's another perception issue that if something doesn't cost as much as everything else, how can it be as good? So we had to overcome all that. And so we sold direct, and eventually we had to get our own stylist.
So 1 second. So how did you let's answer. How did you circumvent those issues?
Well, we got our own stylist in. So by selling direct, and first of all, we capitalized on the trendsetters, those who felt that they knew what a quality wig was. They bought it, they were happy with it, and then the reputation started to grow. But still, we had to do some of our own cutting and styling. We had to get our own stylist. And when it came to wholesale, we also had some unique arrangements because we didn't have the margin that the Schetelmachers couldn't make the same amount per wig as they do with other wigs. So the way we dealt with that is we had one Schetelmacher per market. So we pushed all the business to that one Schetelmacher. So then we made it up in volume. So we had to find unique solutions, and we're kind of still dealing with that. We still, what we believe, have lower margins than some of the others for the similar product.
So as any company grows and gets into a market, they start to specialize and they start to find gaps, and creative solutions to things in the industry. I've noticed that your company has innovated some new concepts in the Schetel world. Tell us how that came about.
Yeah, I mean that is something, and that's full credit to my wife because she's really, really passionate about this, and she's constantly looking to improve. And she wears it, obviously, so she knows what people want, how it would work, and she tries it on herself, and until she's perfectly happy with it. So innovation is a big key, and it really comes, like I said, mostly from my wife's passion. Obviously, I do what I can to help and the logistics of it, but she's always thinking about what's the next thing. What else can we do to improve the product? And that's sometimes the wig itself, sometimes it's accessories. There's always something. There's always something she's working on.
Can you take us a little bit through a journey for a lot of people that want to hear about like a product development, so to say? Tell us how like a product, you come up with a concept, how do you test it and bring it to market, so to say? Just like walk us through something.
Yeah, it's a combination of a lot of things. I mean, the first thing we do is we simply sew it up by hand or cut it up by hand, and you make old-fashioned prototypes and see if it works. And sometimes it costs more money because you have to create a new mold for something. But you just literally try it out, and once it gets close, we have a few people we trust to try it, and we get their feedback. And you tweak it, and sometimes we over-tweak it, and we take too long to come to market. But that's how we go about it, and we don't have a sophisticated process, but we just keep tweaking till we're comfortable enough rolling it out.
So let's talk marketing a little bit. Everyone that's listening to this and that's running a business is always thinking about how to market themselves. What type of lessons can you share with people?
The first marketing lesson I got was from Yitzy Geisinsky at the Sukkah Center, because I was trying to jam in all the benefits and highlights, everything that we have to offer, and all the sales and products ever. And he simply said, the less you write, the more they read. Just hit your highlights, make your point, and done. That was important. So you try. Obviously, you have to be creative and try to create that message short and impactful. But that was an important lesson. But marketing itself is what I learned a lot was the idea is it's not about what you like, but it's not an ad that appeals to you. It has to be effective to the market. So sometimes I have to distance myself. I don't think this might be too loud or maybe too something, but it's something that works.
Well, how do you test?
Well, you have to literally ask people, and sometimes trust the designer. I think it should be more impactful or less, or I think it's too loud, and you trust people around you, and move your opinion aside. And if you feel like if I felt I was passionate about a particular ad and somebody else didn't like it, then you ask more and more people, and eventually you kind of follow the masses. And I would ask people not directly involved in the company, sometimes family or something. It's just to speak to somebody who I wasn't trying to achieve. I wouldn't ask my father what the ad looks like. I'd ask my sister. because she's the client. And that's the kind of approach I took to a lot of the marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, also, I found, again, this is what I learned from the Sukkah Center also initially. The idea is there's two kinds of marketing. There's direct response and there's branding. And a direct response is you promote a sale, you promote an event, a new product, you want people to react to it. And sometimes it's just you want to get the logo on. People should remember you and people notice you. And they're very different kinds of ads. I mean, if you're trying to get people to show up and all you did to put your logo, that didn't motivate people to come. And the reverse, if you're just trying to brand yourself in a calendar or a billboard somewhere, and you try to jam too much information, it doesn't work either. So you kind of have to look at the objective of what you're trying to accomplish with that particular ad.
Nice. How many employees work now at Milano?
About 21.
21. So tell us a little bit about, what it takes to to hire good employees and to oversee and keep staff happy.
Well, good employees are obviously the biggest key to anything. We found that the best employees come from referrals or people we worked with for a while before they came on board, and listen to them because you hire them for a reason. They have good input and they know what they're talking about, and get their opinions and follow their opinions, and take them seriously and as equals. And that's a key point. We're here as a team. They're interested in the success of the company. Obviously, we are. And just get the right people. Once they're there, they're equals.
Okay. So, Milano, now you also are involved in another business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right now, yes. It's called Alacrity Energy. We focus on commercial solar installs. And solar installation, especially commercial, it's a very complicated project. It's an expensive project.
Commercial means, in other words, not for home use?
Not for home, right. It's a commercial, nonprofit,
right.
And it's complicated.
So let me stop you right there. How did you get it? What brought you to that?
Well, when we got out of the telephone business, I felt that there are a lot of similarities between energy and telecommunications. I mean, not necessarily the technology, but the sales force, the decision makers, the idea of you have this consistent bill coming and you want to find a way to reduce it or eliminate it. So there were a lot of similarities, and even technologically, I'm not going to go into the details per se, but the way the system is broken down, there are different steps in the process, and there were some similarities between telecom and energy. And so I figured my next natural step would be into energy. And I'm still not doing exactly what I set out to do because that isn't there yet. Legislation doesn't allow me to compete with the local utilities. But solar was hot. This was about 2005, 2006. And that was the big thing at the time. But it was complicated and expensive. So what we do now is we work on behalf of our clients to oversee, first of all, to choose the right installer, right size, right products, and to oversee the project for them.
Mm-hmm. So from the little bit that I know about solar, so I was all over the news a few months ago. The founder of Tesla had created some, was it Solar City or something?
Yeah.
So that's a product that you'll offer to people, or that's a whole different product?
You're talking about the roof tiles?
The tile, right? The tiles.
Roof tiles.
The power. The power. When they have some sort of power unit that you keep in your house. The
power wall is the batteries. Yeah, storage. Right. Yes, we do storage as well. It's hard to pencil out, certainly for residential, because there's no return on investment.
Right.
Either you want backup for your house or you don't. But for commercial, there really is a return on investment. And again, I wouldn't bore the details, but there's, especially in California and a lot of states, they have something called demand charge. And with batteries, you can reduce the demand charge a lot. So the solar plus storage is a big thing right now. Mm-hmm. But those tiles are not available in the market yet. They're only for certain kind of homes, and we'll see how that works out.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
So then let me ask you like this: managing two companies at once, how do you pull that off?
Wow, yeah, it's the best question so far. It's hard. First of all, obviously, you have to surround yourself with the right people, and that's somebody once told me that the way to buy time is to hire good people, and that's a big deal. So people help run both, and but it does take up a lot of time, a lot of focus. The long days, long nights, and good people, and focus.
Nice. So, let's since we're touching that topic, work-life balance. What's your recipe? How do you keep you keep your businesses going, your family going, your Yiddishkeit going? What's your secret?
I don't have any secrets, but the thought is to, again, keep track of what we're trying to accomplish at the moment, and what we're trying to do. The good thing about being an entrepreneur and running your own business is, well, yes, we work very, very hard, but we can kind of control our schedule, certainly if you have enough time notice. So I'm able to go to kids' performance in school, able to spend time with the family, and the good thing about running the business with my wife is vacation. Well, it's good and bad, but vacation is not a real vacation. But it's good because we could get some things done, and if there's a crisis, we're both there together to resolve it, and so that does help. But but it's the ability to spend time with the family and the kids, and in general is also kind of a thought process that I've been working through, is that obviously we need to do whatever we can to support our family. But once you get beyond that point, we have to keep it in perspective. Is it worth spending this extra time at the expense of the family, expense of everything else we have going on in our lives? And so I try to keep track of that. And Baruch Hashem, I feel like I have a healthy balance.
Baruch Hashem, that's great. Is there any story of Kiddush Hashem or Hashgacha Pratis that you experienced through any of your companies that you're proud of? Or
well, one thing recently, two things come to mind. Recently, we sent over an agreement to one of the solar installers that we want to do business with. It's a pretty big company, and they go through these all the time. And I met with them, and they were strong fundamentalist Christians, and it was interesting. Then when we sent them over the agreement, they sent over to the person who works with me at the who sent it to them, and he says, "I've never seen such a even balanced proposal." And usually they have to go back and forth. The reason why I did it was simply because it just saves time. And I'm not trying to pull one over anybody. It's just, and we could end up having a fair agreement anyway, so this is the standard agreement. I sent it to them, but he felt, the person who works with me felt that it was a message that this was, it was a good thing for Kiddush Hashem. Mm-hmm. So I felt that was good. But another story I had at the beginning of Milano, and it was interesting. Like I said, we used to have these pop-up shows. We had to rent a warehouse and do a lot of, I wouldn't never say renovations, but we had to make it work, which is vacant. So I came to town from California, stopped at the oil, asked for bracha, and we would go to the oil, usually make a small achlata or something. So at that point, before Rosh Hashanah, I made a achlata that I went down with the minyan 3 times a day, at least until Rosh Hashanah, maybe some kippur, I'm not sure. And so I got in town, and it was about 8:30. I got to Borough Park where the warehouse was, and we were ready to open up. We had an electrician. We didn't even have electricity there. So he was going to hook up electricity, lights, air conditioning, and everything. And just everything went wrong. We couldn't get access. Once we got access, things weren't working. Things were blowing. You had to get the parts. It was just a nightmare. And it was 8:30, 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock. And we're supposed to open at 10, and nothing's working, and I hadn't davened yet. And not only, of course, I need to daven, but need to daven with the minyan. It's about 10:30. I said, I need a minyan. Where could I go here? So they sent me to Munkach, I think on 47th and 14th. And I said, guys, figure it out. There was no solution in sight, but guys, I need to daven now. No, and so I went and turned off my phone. And after davening, I got a text. Everything was working, fine. Air conditioning's on, lights were on. So I learned a lesson because the problems were abnormal. And obviously the solution came that quickly. So I learned the lesson that you make a deal with the Rebbe, whatever it is, you do your part first.
Nice. That's beautiful. Who do you look up to as your business mentor in the business community?
A lot of people, but when I think I learned the most from was probably Yossi Biston and Avi Diamond way back then. I learned a lot from a lot of people, but we spend a lot of time together. And asking questions and learning what is important, what's not important, how to approach something. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that is I still follow a lot of that today.
Mm. Nice. So if you had to, you're sitting in front of a 21, 22-year-old guy who's about to start a business, what's your number one piece of advice that you're going to tell them?
In a way, it's easy. Number one, I think it's the simplest, maybe, that in our economy, the way things work is that you offer something of value at a price people want to pay. That's really the whole secret. And it doesn't matter. And if you're yeshiva bach or people don't care. They just, if you're going to offer them something that value to them at a price that they're willing to pay for it, they'll do it. They'll make a deal with you, and that's on both sides. You can buy from anybody if you're willing to pay a fair price, and you can sell to anybody if you're offering something that they want. It's relatively simple. Obviously, you come down to nuances and details, but if you focus on what value you're offering to the person you're dealing with, whether it's a customer or a partner or whatever it is, if you focus on the value you're offering them, you should be fine. Another important point before getting into a business is if you're already married, have a frank conversation with your spouse and make them aware that the two of you together become aware of what this lifestyle requires. 9 to 5, 10 to 6 job, even if you're going to work extra hours, by the time when you're done, you're done. This lifestyle requires 24-hour involvement. Emergencies come up anytime, any place, and you have to deal with it. Of course, there's the risk of it not working out or spending months or years without reaching full potential. So it could add a lot of stress, and it's very important that both parties are very involved and understand it and agree to it. And if somebody's already an entrepreneur before they get married, it's important to have this conversation with your potential spouse, because otherwise, unfortunately, one of the two will suffer, either the business or the marriage. So it's important to keep that in mind.
It's so true. If you had to look back at your business, like let's say your Milano business, and there was something that you could do over now, today, what would that be?
Going back to the beginning, I think I mentioned before that there was an opportunity, a gap in the market between this selling direct, and even for that price range, there was really nothing available, which was good, and we capitalized on that. But we really didn't have the foresight to determine where our growth was going to come from, and therefore we didn't build it into margins, and we just didn't have that. We just focused on the opportunity at hand, which was good, and Baruch Hashem, it worked out. But we didn't really think about the future and how, and can our margins support the future, or we didn't even think about the future at all. It was just, here's our opportunity, let's capitalize on it, and that was it. And we had to play catch up, and kind of still playing catch up on that.
What could you have done differently that would have made?
Well, I mean, it was important to come in as a price point, because back then and still today, we're a value-driven company. You're going to get a really good product for a relatively good price. But we could have just done it as an introductory price, for example, and slowly move ourselves back up to the market price. But we stayed in that price range for a very long time, and that became who we were and still are. So there was some things we could have done early that would have made it easier to make that transition.
So in other words, you can't emphasize enough, when you start something off, try to envision it down the line. Yeah,
in general, everything is, when at this point we try anyway, that once we tackle anything, we try to think it through till the end, where that's going to take us. And the slogan that keeps bouncing in my head is "Save myself, Shavat Chila." Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Keep the end in mind. And in fact, another interesting lesson I got from my father on this that changed my focus a long time ago. I think I was 18, 19 years old, just got my license and got a speeding ticket. And so I wrote a really nasty letter to the judge, and this person was wrong, and they should spend their time in better things, just the usual for a teenager. And I was so proud of myself, because it was a big, long letter from out of Alacrity. And so I showed it to my father. He just looked at it and chuckled. I said, "What?" He says, "What are you trying to accomplish with this letter?" So I want the judge to dismiss my ticket. He goes, "That's not going to happen. Not with this letter. You have to make a rational argument. You have to be respectful." And he said, "If you want to vent, it's a great letter. But if your objective is to get anything done, you have to write it differently." And it just put a new focus on. That when I'm sitting down to do something, you have to think about what we're trying to accomplish. Like I mentioned earlier, what kind of ad is it? Is it a branding? Is it a direct response? What are we trying to accomplish with this? And that helps a lot.
Do you have any recommended reading that you'd like to suggest?
I don't read a whole lot about business. Recently, somebody gave me the 1 Minute Manager, a few little tidbits in there, tidbits everywhere. But 2 books that come to mind that I read a long time ago that were very helpful, not just for business, but life in general. One of them is by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. That book's, I think, well over half a century old. Very effective. Yeah. You have it right here, huh?
Yes, we have it in our CHY business book library, available for anyone that would like to borrow it.
Excellent. It really is helpful. Again, not just for business. It just helps be an effective human being, whether it's business, life, marriage, kids. It's a really good book. And the other one is similar, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I think that book's already over a quarter century old, but it's still very, very effective. But what I get a lot of information from, a lot of use out of, is YouTube. You have a particular challenge, something we're trying to accomplish for the moment, just either Google it, YouTube it, and study it. It's all there. I know people call YouTube a big garbage can, but there's just a lot of useful information on exactly the topic you're looking for. So that's where you get a lot of information and inspiration.
Nice. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. In the last few minutes that we're having over here, what do you do, like outside of business, to keep yourself sane, so to say? What do you have, hobbies or passions that you're involved in?
Not a lot of time left outside of business, but we like traveling with the family. That's something that's very enjoyable, and we make sure to do that whenever we can. I still play baseball, basketball.
The causes you get involved in?
I'm involved, CHY as much as I can. The shul. I'm involved with our local federation in Long Beach. I'm even involved with a international or Middle East think tank in Washington. So I try to be somewhat rounded.
Right.
Yeah, obviously try to catch Shurim whenever I can.
Very nice. So, for all the young people listening to this podcast, they're listening and your story resonates and they want to reach out to you. How would they reach out to you?
Email, I guess. It's my email is yitzy1@gmail. That's YITZY1 @gmail, the number 1. So that's
send
me an email, and I would love to chat, talk, and see what we can accomplish together.
I'd like to second to everybody that's listening. Yitzy really has a passion to be there for people, and so by all means, any of you that are striking it out, and you want to speak to someone to get wise wisdom, please feel free to reach out to Yitzy. It'll be time well worth spent. So, Baruch Hashem, another wonderful K-Factor interview. Wishing all of you an amazing week filled with tremendous haslacha, Mechail, Ochayil, and Yitzy. Continued haslacha in all of your endeavors, and have a wonderful week, everybody.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the CHYE in partnership with COL Live K-Factor podcast with your host, Rabbi Yehoshua Wordy. We look forward to bringing you more amazing entrepreneurs to share their stories. See you next week.